The ocean is not infinite. It feels endless. It looks bottomless. But biologically, it is one of the most restrictive environments on Earth. Pressure increases with depth. Oxygen becomes scarce. Energy becomes expensive. Every large animal that has ever lived in the ocean faced the same invisible wall. Size eventually becomes a liability. That's why the blue whale doesn't hunt. That's why sharks rely on efficiency, not bulk. That's why evolution usually punishes anything that grows too large. And yet, millions of years ago, the ocean didn't just allow something enormous to exist. It built something designed to kill other giants. Not a scavenger, not a filter feeder, not a slow-moving behemoth. A predator, with teeth larger than a great white's. A bite force designed to crush bone. And a brain capable of active hunting. This creature didn't just live in the ocean. It dominated it. Ancient sailors called it Leviathan. Science calls it Livyatan melvillei. And the disturbing part isn't that it existed. It's that by every rule of biology, it shouldn't have. The discovery that shook paleontology. In 2008, paleontologists working along the coast of Peru uncovered something that immediately felt wrong. Not because it was incomplete, not because it was damaged, but because it was too aggressive. They had found the fossilized skull of an ancient whale, but unlike modern whales, this skull was built for violence. The teeth were the first warning sign. Each tooth measured over 36 centimeters, longer than a human forearm. These weren't baleen plates. These weren't vestigial remnants. They were functional weapons, embedded in both the upper and lower jaws. No whale alive today has this configuration. Sperm whales have teeth only on the lower jaw. Baleen whales have none at all. But this creature? It had a mouth designed to grab, hold, tear, and kill. Scientists realized quickly, this was not an ancestor of peaceful giants. This was something else entirely. They named it Livyatan melvillei, after the biblical sea monster and the author of Moby Dick. Because nothing about this animal was gentle. A body built for hunting giants. Livyatan wasn't just big. It was optimized. Its skull alone measured nearly 3 meters long, massive even by whale standards. But the real terror wasn't size. It was design. The jaw muscles indicate a bite force powerful enough to crush bone. Not crack. Not damage. Crush. This wasn't for fish. This wasn't for squid. This was for other whales. Fossil evidence suggests Livyatan hunted large marine mammals, likely early baleen whales that had not yet grown massive enough to defend themselves. And unlike sharks, Livyatan wasn't a mindless attacker. It had a large, complex brain, similar to modern sperm whales, known for advanced communication, memory, and hunting coordination. This means Livyatan didn't just chase prey. It likely planned hunts. An apex predator with intelligence, endurance, and brute force. That combination is rare, and when it appears, ecosystems suffer. Leviathan versus Megalodon, the clash of titans. At the same time Livyatan ruled the seas, another monster existed. Megalodon, the largest predatory shark ever to live. For years, popular culture asked the wrong question. Which one was bigger? Size doesn't decide dominance. Strategy does. Megalodon was ambush-based. A burst predator. Fast, brutal, efficient. Livyatan was different. It could track prey over long distances, use echolocation, coordinate attacks, target vital organs, sustain long chases. If these two ever encountered each other, it wouldn't have been a simple fight. It would have been war between two philosophies of predation. Speed versus intelligence. Bite force versus bone-crushing grip. Instinct versus cognition. And here's the unsettling truth. There is evidence they hunted the same prey. That means competition was inevitable. When apex predators compete, nature usually eliminates one, sometimes both. Why Leviathan disappeared? Livyatan didn't lose because it was weak. It lost because the world changed. Around 3 million years ago, ocean temperatures shifted. Currents changed. Food chains reorganized. Small changes for most animals. Catastrophic for giants. Whales evolved larger bodies and different feeding strategies. Prey became faster or more dispersed. Energy costs increased. For a predator like Livyatan, which required massive calories to survive, efficiency became impossible. Evolution doesn't care about dominance. It cares about sustainability. And Leviathan wasn't sustainable anymore. So nature did what it always does. It erased the experiment. Why the ocean never built it again? Here's the part that should unsettle you. The ocean had millions of years to rebuild Leviathan. It never did. Not because it couldn't. Because it chose not to. Modern oceans are lower in oxygen. Food chains are tighter. Energy efficiency matters more than raw power. A predator like Livyatan would destabilize everything. So evolution moved away from extremes. No animal today combines that size, that intelligence, that aggression. Because when those traits merge, ecosystems collapse. Leviathan wasn't a success. It was a warning. The rule that Leviathan broke. Why this should never have worked. There is a rule in biology so fundamental that almost every large animal obeys it. The bigger the predator, the less aggressive it becomes. This is not opinion. It's physics. Large bodies require massive energy intake, longer recovery times, higher risk of injury, slower reproduction. That's why the largest animals alive today are not hunters. Blue whales filter feed. Elephants graze. Whale sharks drift. Aggression at extreme size is inefficient. It's dangerous. It leads to extinction. And yet Leviathan violated this rule completely. Livyatan melvillei wasn't just large, it was hyper-aggressive. Its anatomy shows no signs of evolutionary compromise. No reduced teeth. No defensive adaptations. No shift toward passive feeding. Instead, everything about its body says the same thing. Attack. Kill. Dominate. This shouldn't be possible. At that size, a single broken tooth could mean starvation. A failed hunt could mean death. An injury could take years to recover. But Leviathan didn't evolve caution. It evolved confidence. That tells scientists something disturbing. For a long period of time, Leviathan lived in an ocean where prey was abundant. Competition was limited. Risk was low. In other words, the ocean once favored monsters. And when an ecosystem favors aggression instead of balance, it becomes unstable. That instability doesn't show up immediately. It builds silently. Predators grow larger. Prey grows faster. Energy cycles tighten. Mistakes become fatal. Leviathan wasn't just a predator. It was a stress test for the ocean itself. And eventually, the system failed. Not because Leviathan was flawed, but because it pushed the environment beyond what it could safely sustain. That's why the ocean didn't just lose Leviathan. It rejected the entire design. No creature since has been allowed to fill that role again. Because evolution learns something the hard way. Some forms of power work. Until they don't. Final truth, the monster was real. Leviathan wasn't mythology. It wasn't exaggeration. It was a real biological experiment. One so extreme that Earth quietly abandoned it. The ocean didn't defeat Leviathan. Reality did. And that's the most disturbing part. Not that monsters existed, but that nature once tried something worse and decided never to try again.